Welcome in everyone, this is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because ever since the Ravens' dominant win over the Detroit Lions, everyone has been talking about the same thing. Lamar's 16-1 record against NFC teams. And while that is impressive at a 94% win rate and his only loss coming against the New York Giants last year in 2022, it didn't feel like Lamar was as dominant in every one of those wins as the record in the media made it seem. So I did what I usually do and took a look at the numbers, and I think you're going to be surprised by what I found. I know I was. Let's get to it.
They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year. Every year.
So, the Ravens are 16-1 against the NFC, with Lamar as the starter since 2018, and they're 2-4 when he hasn't been the starter during that time. The games that Lamar has not started for the Ravens during that time are shown on the screen with the outcomes of those games as well. So clearly, the Ravens are better off when Lamar is under center than when he isn't, and that fact shouldn't even surprise the most outspoken Lamar hater in the Browns fan base. But I like to consider myself more objective than some Ravens fans, and so, with the national media shouting Lamar's greatness from on high for single-handedly defeating all NFC adversaries that stand in his way, I get a bit skeptical. I took a look at all 17 games that Lamar has started for the Ravens and found that yes, there were games that Lamar put the team on his back and carried them over the finish line. But there were also games where Lamar himself was hoisted over someone's shoulder and carried to victory. Now, let's rip this Band-Aid off first. The loss to the New York Giants last year on October 16, 2022. Yes, the game where they were up 10 points with just over 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. To be honest, it's hard to not put this on anyone but Lamar. The defense only gave up 238 yards, and we ran the ball for more yards than we threw. The game was lost because of two bad turnovers by Lamar in the span of 1 minute and 24 seconds. He fumbled the ball on a 3rd and 5 at the Baltimore 40, which he did recover, but then he tried to make a pass to Patrick Ricard, which was intercepted, and 4 plays later, Barkley goes in for the 1-yard score. Score is now 24-20, but it's okay. The Ravens still have all 3 timeouts and a minute and 43 to go down and get a touchdown. Except 2 plays later, Lamar is sacked, the ball comes out, and the game is over. Ravens lose 24-20. Now, with that over, let's talk about some of the wins against the NFC that should be attributed more to my second favorite Raven, Justin Tucker. I won't sit here and read to you everything I typed up, as that would be boring and redundant, but I will say that in each one of these wins, Tucker either was the offense, as was the case for the Atlanta win, or he was the reason we won via game-winning kick, as you see indicated. Against the 49ers, Lamar ended with an 86.3 passer rating, and throwing for only 105 yards. And before anyone says it, yes, Lamar ran 16 times for 101 yards and a touchdown, but he also fumbled in the third quarter, and that fumble led to a 32-yard Robbie Gould field goal that tied the game at that point, which Tucker would then have to overcome with a 49-yarder. Other games were either won by dominant defense or a punishing run game, to which, yes, Lamar also contributed to that, but not just by himself, and he wasn't the leading rusher in any of the games listed. Lamar's rookie game against the Buccaneers was a game where the defense kept Jameis Winston from getting anything going with the great pass coverage led by my favorite Raven, Marlon Humphrey, who was also the lead star of a defensive masterpiece in our 2022 win over the Panthers, where he allowed no receptions in coverage, had a pick, and a fumble recovery. Both the win over Dallas in 2020 and New Orleans in 2022 were examples of rushing dominance, where everybody who touched the ball was effective through great O-line play, run game play calling, or simply fantastic execution. Now, all the games that I mentioned so far were good team wins, but there were definitely games that felt more like the Ravens escaped than they outright won. Yes, the 4th down touchdown by Lamar in the Seattle game was exhilarating, and in my opinion galvanized that squad to believe in themselves for the remainder of that season. But Lamar was not at his best in that game. In fact, his passer rating of 69.4 was his worst through every one of these 17 games against the NFC. He did also run for 116 yards on 14 carries and that touchdown we just spoke about, but he did also fumble the ball 2 times in that game, one of which killed our first drive in the early part of the third quarter. In the Philadelphia game, They almost tied it with a 2-point conversion, but they weren't able to get into the end zone. We ended up winning by 2. And in the Minnesota game, Lamar threw 2 interceptions. One led to a field goal that increased the Vikings' lead from 14-3 to 17-3 towards the end of the first half. The other one was in overtime at Minnesota's own 38-yard line. Luckily, our defense held on. But, okay, I know. It seems like I'm bashing Lamar or looking for mistakes to say he hasn't played as well as he has. And to be honest, I guess partially I am. Lamar isn't perfect, and from what I know of him, though I've never met him, I believe he'd say that he isn't perfect as well. He might be the first to say that. Lamar holds himself to a higher standard than the media and the fans ever could, and he knows better than anyone what he is truly capable of. Lamar is absolutely incredible, and the best thing to happen to this franchise since they brought in an undrafted kicker to challenge Billy Cundiff. But I believe in being an objective fan, because not only is ignorance not bliss, but I get to honestly enjoy every aspect of when my team is great and deserving of praise. So, now let's get into what I believe are the 6 games where the only reason the Ravens win is because number 8 is back there being the best player on the field, and everybody knows it. The Cardinals game was the other side of the coin to the Week 1 season opener air raid administered to the Miami Dolphins. Lamar was lethal with his arm and his legs in this game, in which he threw what has to be to this day one of my top 3 favorite passes from Lamar. 3rd and 11 to Marquise Brown down the right sideline for a 41-yarder. That was the definition of dropping it in the bucket. Now, I don't need to talk about the LA Rams Jackson 5 game, but of course I will. 1/3 of Lamar's passes went for touchdowns. Let that sink in. What other game by any other quarterback have you ever seen where every third pass they throw a touchdown? Not to mention he ran it 8 times for 95 yards, which is 11.8 yards per carry. Oh, and he had a passer rating of 139.4, which was okay, I guess. I mean, it was only the 4th time with a passer rating over 139 so far that season, but I guess it got the job done, right? That's sarcasm, by the way, for those of you that don't pick up on that well. Now, the Washington game and the New York Giants game in 2020, they weren't dominant displays of Lamar's raw power on how utterly and completely he could dismantle an opposing defense, but they were perfect examples of why Lamar is so special. He won those games himself. Versus Washington, he had a 107.8 passer rating with 2 touchdowns to Mark Andrews, and he was also the leading rusher with a 50-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. And I guess I could have put the Giants win under rushing winning games, but Lamar had the second most rushing yards and a 111.5 passer rating on 17 completions for 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's too dominant of a performance to not give it to him. The Buccaneers game was a well-orchestrated game plan, utilizing Lamar's arm in the first half almost exclusively, and then running over a worn-out and frankly overwhelmed Tampa Bay defense. The game plan was solid, but without the execution of it, the plan doesn't matter. Good coaching, but even better play by Lamar to get the win. Finally, we have the most recent and frankly most complete game I think I've ever seen Lamar play against an NFC team, and maybe against any team that he's faced so far in his career. There are many games that are drawn up well and go well for Lamar and the offense, games like Tampa in 2022. The plan and the execution go hand in hand. But against the Lions in Week 7 of this season, Lamar took over that game in a way almost reminiscent of a playoff LeBron elimination game. Every decision was the right decision. Every juke or fake effective in its purpose. Lamar was running this offense with the authority of a true veteran quarterback who knows his team inside and out, who knew the playbook better than anyone, and was calling his own shots at the line of scrimmage. The coaches themselves said after the game that so many of the good things that happened in that game were of Lamar's own creation and his own playmaking ability, not something they built into a script created for him to follow. This game had Lamar's signature all over it. More than the Week 1 stomping of Miami, more than the Rams' Jackson 5, and even more than his Houdini Bengals game, because it was Lamar in control and getting to display all the things that people were saying even after years of doing it that he just couldn't do. And according to many, the Lions were the best that the NFC had to offer. Lamar feasted on them over and over again. As I said in the opener, the video is going to be a little bit different. In front of you now is the data that I've collected for Lamar's statistics against the NFC teams that he's faced since he was a starter in 2018. And I won't bore you by reading out all the numbers like a PowerPoint slide. Most of you may be tired of stats at this point anyway, but you can pause if you want to take a look at them. Lamar has indeed gone 16-1 against the NFC, but even with that stellar record, his career passer rating is higher than when he faces NFC opponents, as is his passing yards per game and his completion percentage. But he does run well against the NFC teams, which is the only point of credit that I will give to the narrative that they may indeed not be used to his speed. I guess the TLDR, or too long didn't read version, would be to say that Lamar does dominate the NFC teams, but no more than he dominates every team that he plays in general, because that's typically the outcome that we have come to expect from Lamar. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed this look at my attempt to break down the reasons on why the Ravens have destroyed NFC teams with Lamar at the helm, and why I expect that pattern to continue. If you liked the video, please leave a like. This research does take time, and if you want more of my analysis videos and post-game breakdowns or previews, I have several over on my channel that you can check out, and hit the subscribe button while you're there. It's free after all. Anyway, that's it for me today, but thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again real soon. Stay safe out there. Bye.